You've been watching decentralized finance for a while now. Seen some people make a fortune, others lose everything. You want to get involved now, but the complexity is insane. The risk, unbearable. Let's face it, you have no time to specialize in decentralized apps, and no money to lose either. Well, there is an easy way to earn returns from DeFi. A solution with no trading involved, no hassle. A place where you're always in control. Just deposit funds and watch your savings grow. You've been watching decentralized finance for a while now. Seen some people make a fortune, others lose everything. You want to get involved now, but the complexity is insane. The risk, unbearable. Let's face it, you have no time to specialize in decentralized apps, and no money to lose either. Well, there is an easy way to earn returns from DeFi. A solution with no trading involved, no hassle. A place where you're always in control. Just deposit funds and watch your savings grow. We're talking about an app. We're talking about the YELD app. DeFi banking in your pocket.
I think there's a slight issue with this stream as we have 0 viewers at the moment. So I think potentially we have a technical problem. Let me just double check with our team in the background. Guys, are we okay for viewers? Because we seem to have a bit of a technical glitch on the software at the moment. We're okay. All right, jolly good. Well, good. Welcome everybody to a live AMA update with YELD app. It's been a while, so we are here to give you a full update on all things YELD app. I am Rebecca Jones. I am the head of communications at YELD app. I am joined by Tim Frost, who is our CEO, and most of you will know and love. And we have a new face we are introducing today. We have Lucas Kiely, who is now our Chief Investment Officer. Would you like to say hi, Tim and Lucas?
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all.
No, hello, everyone, and thanks, Rebecca. And I guess I didn't realize it had been so long since our last AMA. I think it's well overdue. So thanks for getting this arranged.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to make sure that we have them as a monthly staple going forward. But, you know, it's been a long summer and we've all been working hard. So on that note, Tim, what have we been up to over the last couple of months? Can you fill us in?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I mean, so much happening. I think, you know, everyone kind of working internally in YELD app is, you know, working those long 70-hour weeks, and it's been quite a grind. But we do understand that kind of externally, you know, like it's hard to understand what's really kind of happening behind the scenes. So we've grown significantly. So we actually just had kind of the 1 year anniversary a few weeks ago from when I essentially founded the company, and you know, it's been a kind of a whirlwind. We have now 45 full-time staff across the world, and you know, Tom, our head of HR, has really done a fantastic job, just continue to bring kind of world-class talent that have been kind of joining us. Not to mention Lucas joined us recently as our CIO to really be able to really expand on what we've been building and building a lot more structure around this, and be able to build an infrastructure that can be able to accommodate billions of dollars of assets under management, and as we continue to scale up. So yeah, maybe I'll just go through a few kind of I guess touch points besides you know, where we're at today. Recently we opened and closed another round of the Bitcoin fund. Again, we got a lot of you know, so much anticipation for that, one of the highest yielding Bitcoin products out in the market, and so we, you know, now have close to 1,000 Bitcoins assets under management now. And we're really excited to kind of offer more and more Bitcoin funds that are coming. We had the first fiat capabilities we kind of launched a couple months ago, and we've really had a lot of users already kind of be able to use and experience that and be able to onboard and buy their Ether and their stable coins and be able to invest in YELD app. Tremendous growth in Asia we've had recently, particularly China, Hong Kong, but really surprising Taiwan. From Q2 to Q3, over 1,600% growth in that market. And so we have a great marketing team in Asia, and really just tremendous results that they've been able to drive forward. But I guess V2 is that. I think that's always kind of what everyone's anticipating. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is always the question on everybody's lips: when V2? When V2? So when is V2, Tim? What can you tell us about V2? What's it going to bring? Tell us.
Yes, absolutely. So, our dev team is. I mean, they're literally working 7 days a week, and really a high caliber team that we have that built some fantastic product before joining us at YELD app. So like anything, it's a completely rebuild. So when I say it's a complete rebuild, it's a 100% rebuild from scratch. Every line of code has been redeveloped. So we've had kind of the luxury and initially getting so much data feedback and analytics and just so much user feedback. And how do we build the optimal product for our user base? And so that is what's coming in this. It is highly anticipated, and obviously our team internally we're all quite excited. There's internal testing that's happening on the product right now. We do hope to open that up to more and more testers in very short term, just kind of getting to that point. And I think we'll kind of be in touch on that, and you guys can always reach out if you're one of those ones that want to kind of jump on board. But so to go through, as I said, we've had over 2,500 commits so far into the V2. We are making a big shift.
And what does that mean? Very briefly, what does 2,500 commits mean?
Yeah, so when the developers are essentially, they're be able to commit code. So that's essentially into the live environment. So very, very active. Obviously, this has been I guess over 6 months of hard work that's gone into this today, and still continue to build that out. So it's I guess it's an active 7 days a week dev team that is we can't. I think they're all waiting for that a little bit of time off too. Once we kind of finally can get to that.
No time off. Time off for the dev team ever.
Well, we want to get to that point where people can actually start enjoying some personal time as well, but not at the moment. There's too much happening. This DeFi banking in your pocket. So the original vision was to build this as more of a digital banking platform. I think the realization of what we really want to build, and we're moving away from that to more to this digital asset wealth management, where people can just continue to accrue their wealth, whether that's in stable coins or fiat denominated, or on the base assets and Ether, Bitcoin, and many other assets that are coming. So we want people to just see us and obviously trust us that they can put their capital with us and just let it continue to grow. So it's so that's why we really want to move away from like that digital banking kind of mentality today to more of that wealth management. Complete new rebranding, new websites. I mean, it can be a complete overhaul. So when you do kind of see this V2 come out, we have I would say that the biggest thing, we have in-app swaps coming. I think a lot of people are excited. People want to say, well, we can swap or Ether and our stablecoin for YLD now. When can we swap other assets? So when we hit V2, initially you'll be with low levels, be able to swap all your assets internally. And as we continue to grow out that capability, be able to essentially you never have to leave YELD app again. That's the idea. So you can put your Bitcoin, Ether, stable coins with us and be able to swap internally for your assets that you currently want to hold.
Okay.
Probably one of the biggest things that's going to happen and is this going to be there's a new structure in the YLD. So we have so much analytics that have come off, and particularly offering more versatility on the platform. So today, we offer fixed rate returns, no matter if you're tier 1 to tier 5. So you get the same rate on the base asset. That will change in V2. And so, we're going to reward those our kind of high tier users with higher APY in their base assets, and vice versa for those in the tier 1 through 4. It'll kind of scale up on that point. So still one of course, that 20,000 YLD will still be that top tier user with us. But we will restructure the tiers overall. Probably won't give everything away today, but there is a lot coming. And particularly one thing that we're going to be launching with V2 is we're slowing down the emissions rate on YLD. I think when we initially designed this, I think we grew much faster than actually initially anticipated. We're so overwhelmed and thankful from such a passionate user-based community that we've built, and we're so grateful. And so just to make this even more sustainable, there is a structure. So we want to be able to offer users higher rates on their base assets, and the YLD rewards will essentially be structured down. But overall, I think that we're going to be quite pleasantly surprised with the results when you see them.
Okay, so it'll be restructuring the YLG rewards, but not eliminating them entirely.
No, absolutely not. So they'll still be there, but we're going to be definitely slowing down the amount of YLD that's kind of minted essentially every day for rewards purposes. So. So many little things happening. Overall, we this will be a kind of a big change, but one where I think we're all internally super excited about. And what this means, I think even more internally is from behind the scenes from this V2, from the fund management side, the portfolio management side, and ultimately optimizing the way that we work and manage funds to be able to kind of continue to offer you more and more.
Okay, and how about cross-chain wallets and automatic compounding? Because this was something that we've mentioned in the past, and is it something we're going to see?
Yes, thank you. So today, people do invest, uninvest, and compound their base assets. That will be auto compounded in V2. So no need to do anything. Just deposit, invest, and let it just continue to compound and enjoy that daily compounding with that V2 rollout.
Okay, fantastic. So in terms of any other kind of major changes that we've got coming along, I mean, obviously V2 is huge and it's going to encompass, as you said, a new website, new branding, as well as all of these exciting features, the YLD restructure. I mean, what else do we have coming up in terms of changes perhaps over the next quarter?
Geez, I get so many little things right now. Well, I mean, we have. Well, we're going to roll out some really, I guess, advanced fiat rails in onboarding solutions, and be able to take deposits in so many more currencies and lower those fees. This is a big part of what we've been building out as well. So there's so many little things. I'm sure I didn't catch on anything, but I hope actually I didn't. So I hope there's still plenty of really cool surprises when we finally get this to users, and for those that hopefully be testing this soon and providing that really valuable feedback that we need.
Right, and we've got some questions coming in, I'm sure, which will press us a little bit further. I mean, in terms of the portfolio team, there's been some changes there. Of course, we have Lucas, who we're going to move to shortly. I mean, can we see any more changes on that side, or any changes at all?
Yeah, I would say the big product of our success, and over last year, I just kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. I think if I would have reached out to Lucas a year ago to try to join this DeFi banking in your pocket kind of startup, I don't think I would have got even a response. But he's such a high caliber professional with such an incredible background, and he's really joined us a few months ago and helped really just kind of revamp our entire fund strategy. So we've really been, well, there's been I would say a lot of very good internal turnover. As any kind of early stage startup, right? You got to kind of bring people in and help you kind of get the business off the ground. But if you're, I guess I would say, kind of an intelligent entrepreneur, you realize that the people that you have on day one and the people that you need, down the line are usually not the same people. You do have a lot of the same people. Naturally, we have a very talented team, but to really, take this company to the next level, we've been able to recruit so much talent, and we have a number of professionals coming on board in the near future that we're very excited about as well. So. We're keeping our HR department quite busy on that front.
Yeah, I know. I hear their stress levels daily are soaring, but they're all very happy and very busy. Lucas, let's move to you, our new Chief Investment Officer. How very exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what is a CIO and what will you be doing at YELD App?
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Tim. I feel like this is like a third career for me, to be honest. I originally started out life as a software engineer when the internet was actually in Lynx browsers and there wasn't Mosaic or Netscape, so we're going way back. And then sort of went through the dot-com era, actually IPO'd with the dot-com at the turn of the millennium, and that was always fun. And then I went into finance as a trader for most of my career, trading complex derivatives across asset class. I think I managed about $14 billion of assets in Asia. And I mean, it's a great business, especially when you trade cross asset, is that you also don't get caught up in the kind of serious sort of, you got to check out crypto, you got to see this. I mean, it's to me, it's just another asset class. It has its own characteristics. It has its own sort of niche and uniqueness about it. But at the end of the day, it's something that people hold as a storage of wealth, or as a transactional asset, etc. So for me, I look at a lot of the similarities that have crossed my desk over the years between these asset classes, as well as the importance of understanding what makes it special, what gives it an edge over fiat currencies or in traditional assets, but also to understand the kind of risk reward profile of these asset classes. And I think the fun thing about, or the most exciting thing about coming to YELD is I don't actually have to worry too much about the price of crypto assets, because our clients already have them. It's not, I always say to Tim, and it's kind of a running joke of mine, is there are two types of people marketing crypto. The first one is trying to sell you to get into crypto because of the astronomical success and earnings you can make. And there are those people who are actually in crypto, who understand it, who know what's going on in the industry, and are trying to use this kind of, I wouldn't call it a nascent asset class anymore, because I think it's becoming quite mature now, as part of their investment portfolio, and they like to be denominated and returned in that asset class. And there's no difference to this that I used to trade in equities or rates or currents or commodities, because some people just want to get paid out in euros instead of dollars, or they want to buy Twitter stock and they want to get paid out in Japanese yen. I mean, for me, you denominate where you want to denominate, and how do you protect the asset class in that underlying is really, really important to me. So going on to your second question about what is it a CIO does, I mean, the first role, I think my first goal here is capital preservation. I think nobody I've ever met likes losing money. And if I assume that everyone is denominated in their respective asset class or respective coins, my goal is to make sure that those coins relative to each other don't lose money. So if you say, well, I'm denominated in Bitcoin, then guess what? Your Bitcoin is worth a Bitcoin, etc. It's when you start to look at the crossover where people value their wealth in US dollars, or they value their wealth in fiat currencies, because that's where the volatility in it essentially comes in. So if you're not worried too much about that, then I think for me, capital preservation becomes a lot easier, because then it's about preserving that capital and generating the alpha that comes with this market, that's unique to this market. And so capital preservation generally starts with diversification. And when you build in diversification, it's what kind of diversification do you want to have? How do we give our clients access to some really exciting strategies that are super liquid, not necessarily, DeFi related, but actually quite complementary to it, like things like market making, short-term or intraday spread trading, derivative arbitrage, coin arbitrage, etc., like that. And there's lots of strategies that have been implemented in especially in niche energy markets and emerging market FX currencies, where these strategies exist already in the crypto landscape. And how do we bring the really high quality managers with good track records and great governance structures within their fund businesses onto our platform to make those available to our clients? And I think when you look at this landscape, the digital asset market is actually quite a scary place to be. I think if you just come across it, there's a lot of cowboys is probably the best way I could describe it, but there are some
cowboys everywhere, to be fair.
Yeah, there is. But I think what I've found is that when you can find really, really phenomenal managers with great pedigree, strong governance structures, etc., and making those available. I've probably met 600, 700 managers in my life in crypto, and when we've done due diligence on them, you sort of look under the engine, you think, oh, probably wouldn't want to put my money there, or etc. And in others, you just think, wow, I want to be with these guys. How do we get them on our platform? How do we make them available to our clients? And that's been my goal of the last couple of months, is just scouring the globe for high quality managers. And we've done some pretty good DD, so due diligence, and not just investment due diligence. I think it's like operational due diligence, like who signs the keys, who does the fund administrator back up that you're doing what you say you do, things like this. And we've gone that in a very gone about that in a very institutional manner. And then thirdly, I would say education. I feel I have so much to learn still about this industry, and also I feel I can add quite a lot. Things that seem new generally aren't, and things that are new, I'm always surprised about. But the great thing is I get to combine my love of tech and programming with my love of finance, and I think bringing those two to bear here is really exciting for me. So yeah, I think that's probably the best I can do with that.
So we've got capital preservation, we've got diversification and education. Lots of shins. This is going to be your focus as CIO.
I spent 9 years in Hong Kong and Asia, so I'm hoping that I can learn as much as I can from that area as well, because that's obviously been a key driver of the industry.
Mm-hmm. And how about regulation? What kind of involvement are you going to have with regulation? Because this is an increasingly important topic in cryptocurrency, and especially for providers like us.
I think it comes into two parts, right? The first part is the regulator's job is to maintain the orderly conduction of market activity. And I see a lot of people ask about stable coins and, regulating stable coins and regulating crypto, etc. And I think one of the things the regulator's job is to protect the market participants. And one thing that I always find quite interesting, especially with stable coins, right, is a stable coin is essentially a credit instrument. Right? And when I say a credit instrument, someone's guaranteeing you the value of something. And the idea behind a stable coin is it's backed by, assets or short-term assets to the amount of tokens or coins issued. But at the end of the day, it's still a credit instrument. And if a lot of those assets, and we've got it's 180 or 170 billion dollars of stable coins or something,
It's in the ballpark. Yeah, no,
it's in the ballpark.
But if you think about the assets that back these up, they're generally traditional market instruments, right? So this is where the kind of crossover to traditional finance versus digital finance comes in, is this stable coin collateral. And if you have a liquidation event in stable coins, you also have a liquidation event in traditional finance. And that's where the regulators are really concerned. Like, hold on a second, you go and play in your playpen over there in your sandpit and don't bother us. But when you start to bother us, it actually becomes our problem. And this is where the stablecoin conundrum comes in, is if I have to liquidate, billions and billions and billions of dollars of stablecoins, am I liquidating short-term, treasury instruments? Am I liquidating junk? What am I actually liquidating? And this is the thing that regulators do care about, because it does cause huge ramifications in markets, and especially in the time zone it's done, right? So how would you unwind billions and billions of dollars of short-dated US treasuries or, certificates of deposit in an Asian time zone, right? Where do you get that kind of liquidity from? And what are the ramifications for the markets overall? So I think it's normal for regulators to be concerned. I think it's healthy that regulators are concerned. And I think the thing that I always find quite interesting is when you talk about like the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Gary Gensler. I mean, Gary Gensler knows a lot about crypto. He used to teach at MIT. You can actually take his course in the open courseware at MIT in cryptocurrency and blockchain. He knows what he's doing. He knows what the situation is. And the thing is that they've actually gone about it in a way that I think is quite consultative. I mean, take the politicians aside, but the central banks are obviously trying to issue or bring out their central bank digital currencies. I was part of the Bank of England discussion on that, and a lot of the time this is aimed at retail investors, or how do you build up institutional grade stable coins, and that obviously is obviously part of the workings of the Fed and the US Treasury and obviously the Bank of England and other central banks. You don't want coins to essentially usurp that authority if at the same time they can completely undermine the functioning of markets. So I think that's where the balance has to come in.
Yeah, so it's a big concern for regulators. I mean, in terms of what's going on in kind of cryptocurrency, we, as you know, have asked all of our users to complete KYC level 2 by the end of this month. We're asking for increased information, as is Binance, as are most providers across the space. I mean, why is that becoming important?
Okay, so I'll give you a really good example, right? So the most important thing regulators probably care about with asset management and wealth management and banking is the anti-money laundering, terrorist financing, Proceeds of Crime Act, all these things that just create huge problems. Now, one of the things that a lot of people want to know when you have cryptocurrencies, can you show the fiat to crypto transaction from your bank? Like I wired money to Coinbase, or I took money from wherever it is. Can you show me the bank statement where you've taken that money from? How do I know that this is your money? And this is where the money laundering or the anti-money laundering comes in, is like, if you're a bank, think about it from a bank's perspective. The fines as a regulated entity for failing your AML KYC are far more than the benefit that your business brings them. I mean, I think, if you go over the years of the fines given to, European private banks or US banks through subprime, etc. I mean, the banks don't need a reason for the regulators to fine them for failing their AML KYC. So this on-ramp, off-ramp becomes a real issue for them, and should be for everyone. How do you make sure that the customers who they say they are and the assets are theirs? And I think that's important. And especially on the sort of the 20th anniversary of 9/11, it becomes really, really important that people understand why this came in. And it came in after that. This whole AML KYC came in after the 9/11 attacks. And I remember in early 2000 or late 2001, when all these rules started to be implemented in the banks, and I was working in the bank at the time, and these changes came in so fast. So that's what they're trying to prevent, and I can understand that. Now, the question then is crypto or Bitcoin or Ethereum, etc. They provide supposedly this anonymity, but they don't really provide you anonymity. It's pseudonymity. Pseudonymity, I think, is the right way you pronounce it.
Easy for you to say.
And for that, and that's fine. I mean, that's what it is. But if you actually want to participate in finance in the real world, and there are certain rules in place that protect everyone and protect the markets themselves. And I think regulators, are looking at crypto as not just a plaything anymore, but as a maturing and growing asset class that has the ability to cause huge disruption, not just in a positive way, which is, I think, what we see with DeFi and crypto markets in general, but also in a really negative way that completely undermines confidence in the financial system. And you could argue you shouldn't have confidence in the traditional financial system anyway, and I could give you that argument all day long. I could take both sides if you want, but I think fundamentally the markets work for everyone, and we should try and be as proactive as possible with regulators and our clients and say, look, this is why we need to do it. And if you want access to some of the best managers in the world, their KYC is the same. I can't get you into a really great manager because he's going to say, well, how do I know those coins are his, or how do I know those coins are hers? And to me, it's a case, well, look at our KYC. It's industry standard, it's best in class, and you can trust us. And that's the important thing for me.
That's a really great point. I mean, we are asking for the same kind of information from our users as we would demand from anybody that we do business with. So I think that that's a really good point to make. So that's enough from you two. I think we've had enough of you two. So let's now listen to some questions that have been sent in. So we had a lot of questions sent in advance. We pulled out 5 questions, and then I can see that we've got a flood of live questions coming in as well. So guys, we're going to do our very best to get to your questions. We hope that we have already answered some with our brief kind of introduction chat, but I'm going to move to the first question that we have taken from our channels ahead of time. This is from Jimmy Farut, who asked on Telegram about the US. He says, with the US seemingly cracking down on BlockFi, Celsius, and Coinbase for offering interest on stable coins, kind of talking towards your point, Lucas, can YELD adapt its offering to US users in order to launch there? Tim, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. Obviously, there's been so much activity in the news recently. So, in short, I guess there's been a little bit kind of question mark on this, but we have no plans on entering the U.S. market in any near term. We have quite a backlog of products, features, and just a good solid year in front of us without even starting to think about the U.S. market as good as it is. So, but we're very closely watching all the developments, as they unfold, and obviously we're well connected within the industry and try to keep up to date on what's happening.
Okay, that is concise. Thank you very much for that concise answer. So now we'll move on to a question from an Instagram user whose name I'm probably going to mispronounce as usual. I apologize. Seban Jonathan. There we go. That wasn't that hard. Do you intend to add new crypto assets related to other blockchains like ADA and Solana?
Yeah, in short, yeah, absolutely. We have so right now our devs have implemented Binance Smart Chain, and so that's going to be the first chain implemented in the V2 rollout. So the assets, obviously BNB and other assets will be supported on Binance Smart Chain. But in short, yes, we will. I mean, there's so much happening in the DeFi landscape. Before kind of adding anything, obviously we have to make sure we can actually earn yield on it. So that's the conversation with Lucas and our DeFi portfolio team, and can we kind of structure products around this? But so yeah, and highly likely that you'll see them coming out in the short term after the rollout of V2.
Okay, and we did have some results on a user survey a little while ago, the kinds of coins and tokens that users might like to see. We did have DAI, Pax Gold, and Filecoin come up. Do we have any plans for those ones?
Yeah, I think all 3 are really at the priority list on what's going to be added. So, I think it's hard to I guess promise anything before it's actually kind of rolled out, but DAI is highly anticipated and obviously a key asset in the DeFi ecosystem overall, as well as we have great Filecoin opportunities and Pax Gold. So I think all 3 are very likely to be added.
Fantastic news. Okay, here's one for you, Lucas. I think I can pronounce this username because it is simply 8964 from Telegram. And 8964 asks, are you concerned about banks taking issue with 5-figure and above transfers, both on and off ramp? So I guess this is another kind of regulatory question.
I think if you ever try to spend more than $10,000 or I think similar amount of euros, etc., there's always a bunch of questions that come with that, which is this really your money? So banks have always had this kind of 10,000 sort of threshold around capital transfers, etc. Look, I think as this industry becomes more mature, the same sort of barriers or checks and balances are put in place to protect not only the users but also the banks themselves from essentially allowing money to move through their channels that they don't know who it belongs to. I think that's the kind of crux of the problem. At some point, you have to kind of let the small payments go, but it's these big payments that worry banks, worry regulators, worry legislators. What is the reason that we're trying to stop this? Well, how do I know it's your money? I mean, that's essentially the problem, right? And it's very easy to sort of set up an account, have money transferred to you and push through, essentially laundering that money into the system. That's what we're really trying to stop, and for numerous reasons. So I think it's something as the industry matures, you just have to get used to the same protocols involved with traditional finance that we're going to have in this. If you want to be part of a modern society, you just have to accept these things going forwards. I think it's just inevitable.
Right. I mean, when we were chatting earlier on, you were saying, if you do want to be anonymous in crypto, effectively you have to, your digital assets rather, I mean, you have to accept the fact that you can't move in and out of fiat, because the moment you have to move in and out of fiat is when you're going to have to give information, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, if you want to conduct your life in the shadows, and some people might want to do that, or just be off grid, and that's fine. I mean, that's
fine. There's no judgment to anybody that wants to conduct their life in the shadows, by the way. We support all life choices here at YELD App.
Yeah. But it's just DeFi, right? I mean, if you want to go and play in this world and say, I'm going to spend my whole life living in crypto ecosystem, that's absolutely fine. I mean, that's what the system's there for. You don't have to, but if you want to pay in euros or US dollars or something, there's rules around that. And I think those rules aren't going to change because of a young upstart that comes along and says, hey, we're new, look at us. I mean, those rules have been in place for a reason and been there for a while. So I can tell you, well, I won't, but I have some very amusing stories in the world of private banking of similar situations, right? These things just come back and bite you.
Name names, please.
I'm not going to name any names.
Okay, fine. All right. Okay, let's move on to another question from Twitter this time, from E. Shimpak. He or she asks, when will the first Bitcoin fund open back up? In October, could we expect a new fund to be started? So, of course, we launched our Bitcoin fund in July, and then we reopened it for deposits quite recently. It will close on the 10th of October. So, Tim, can you give us an update there, please?
Yeah, actually, well-timed question on that front. So, in October, as kind of mentioned on the 10th, the first fund essentially, that initial 3-month period does come up. So we will reopen the fund a few days before. So anyone interested in kind of being in that fund, so ideally around the 10th that you have your kind of Bitcoin ready to go. For those that are invested in it, you have that time. You can be able to redeem your Bitcoin. You can be able to, or just let it continue to reside in the fund, and just be able to get it out in January. So we are going to move to this will continue to be a kind of a 3-month fund. That we have a lot of kind of internal reasons why we've structured this like this. So anyone that wants access to their Bitcoin, probably in the short term, might want to think about withdrawing at that time or redeeming their investment. So said a lot of anticipation. Obviously, we have, I think the highest yielding Bitcoin product on the market. So, but for those that are very long-term Bitcoiners, I think it's a great opportunity for everyone. And so eventually we will get to an open-ended fund, much like we have in the Ether and stablecoin fund. We still have some internal work to do in tech development to kind of build out to get to that point. But so long term, that will be a viable option.
Okay, great. So effectively, people will be able to withdraw if they want to on the 10th. And if not, they can stay in, and then we will roll over to a new fund to go until January. Yeah,
so we'll make sure we notify all users that are both interested in participating and those already invested in the fund, that just alert them of what's coming soon. So we'll put out those announcements plenty ahead of time. So it's in a few weeks, but we'll make sure we have good communication ahead of time.
We will indeed. So our final question that we're going to take before we go to our live questions coming in right now is another question from Twitter. MDL Mujiwara, apologies again, MDL Mujiwara, if I am not pronouncing that correctly. The YELD app is a licensed fintech project that allows anyone to invest in decentralized finance with just one touch. If it's easily accessible, I think security should be just as tight. Please let us know your security plans.
Well, I think it's at the top of the list of everything we do, and sometimes why things might seem a little bit slower than they actually are. So, our CTO is kind of, he's very thorough on security wise, and I have a ton of stories of just sometimes you would think just the most basic action would take so little, which can take hours of time just from the security procedures that you have to go through, and it's just doing things the right way. And so in this V2 rollout, we do have this in-house built wallet system, this cross wallet system that we're so excited on. I actually didn't touch on as much as I probably could have earlier in this call, but it's its own it's its own secure infrastructure that's built entirely in-house by teams that have built secure wallets and infrastructures for exchanges before. So we have multi-sig on everything, and it's just we're obviously we're building this in the most diligent way we can. So it's a great question. I obviously it's at the top forefront of everything we absolutely do in this space, and but you can never be too cautious or put in too many procedures.
Absolutely. We will be, in fact, publishing a security page on our website very, very soon, where we're going to be outlining in detail all of the security and protection that we do have on the platform. So keep your eye out for that. We will notify everyone by social media, as well as our users will get emails. So keep an eye out. We will keep you fully informed on that as we go along. So let's move to live questions. We are getting quite a few. We've got our YELD App social media team. Shout out to you guys in the background there, picking out some good ones for us. So let's start first of all we've got Ian Ballantyne. I think I've got that one right. Is the main focus of marketing strategy for retail or institutional investors? And what are the reasons behind this decision? It's a pretty good question, actually. Where are we going as a business? Are we focusing purely on retail, or are we looking bigger?
Well, the primary clients that we have today are retail clients. We are quickly growing on our institutional side, led by York Hughes, who's on a previous episode, I believe. But we are we're continuing to attract institutional wealth, high net worth wealth, and so kind of give you kind of an idea of like the metrics today. We have, we essentially categorize this as we have over 700 users with us that are essentially high net worth investors today. And so, this has actually been quite a eye-opening statistics as we really get to learn the user base on how they use it. So why we want to be essentially this DeFi investment for everyone, and this is a reality. but the numbers show that we have a number of high net worth investors with us, and we are building out more and more products and services, and particularly some things that are going to be excited coming in early next year. That particularly Lucas is kind of building on that front, but nothing I think we'll go into too much detail today. But so overall, I mean, I wouldn't say we focus on one group, and when we get the demographics back on who are the clients and who's using us and why they're using us, and we just want to continue to build on the value that we're providing.
Okay. And so, in fact, on the asset question, we have a question from Anna Selotskaya from YouTube. And she says, as the crypto market is expanding, we're seeing the onset of the NFT era. What hope do you guys have from this? How are you planning to implement NFTs into your project? So perhaps we could talk about NFTs, but also any other kind of assets that we're looking at. Maybe the two of you could take that one. Tim, you go first.
Sure. Listen. The NFT space is extremely exciting. It's actually commonly discussed internally with particularly we have a lot of very crypto savvy professionals on the team. So it is very hard to understand how exactly does this fit into our kind of business model. We are constantly exploring and very, very open to ideas if anything wants to come forward.
Okay. And in terms of
I would pay a bounty on anyone that comes up with a killer idea on NFTs for us.
Oh wow! Okay, are we going public? All right, there's a bounty up for grabs, guys.
You can come directly to me on that one. Absolutely.
All right. There's a challenge out to the user base. Have any great ideas about NFTs? Send them to @TimYELD. He wants to hear about it. So, Lucas, in terms of traditional assets, are we doing anything in that space at the moment, or do we have plans?
Look, I think that there's a definite opportunity to provide a very diversified offering on the overall platform that shouldn't just include digital assets. Just following up on the NFT, I mean, there's no reason why we couldn't build an NFT fund that we could make available. I mean, it's just a case of what is it that you're procuring and what do you want to put in it? What kind of things do you want? Do you just want, sports pictures, or do you want someone's life work? I mean, NFTs are interesting, but don't forget that it was David Bowie that securitized his whole life catalog and future catalog back in the early 90s, right? And to me, it's no different than that.
Sure. I didn't know that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, David Bowie securitized all of his IP or talent. And you could go and buy bonds in David Bowie. So, I mean, it's nothing special. It's just different system. I'm surprised you didn't know that, Rebecca, but there we go.
I am cool, but, I don't know everything.
And so, I mean, there's definitely things. But then also, it's as we start to see this kind of transition into being able to deposit or deploy, especially stable coins into sort of more of the traditional managers especially in, I mean, if I could have any business in the world, it would be Citadel's market making business. I love that business, but you can't invest in it, right? And I ideally, I would love to have my own or our own market making business in house. I mean, to me, that would be a great business to have. And what would we do with that? Oh, well, we would just use the liquidity in the balance sheet to kind of generate returns on client assets, which I think is what people want, which is why they give us the capital. But then there's other businesses that do, quant strats, etc. That if they take stable coins or they take crypto or Bitcoin, Ethereum, then why can't we subscribe to them and get returns in that? The issue that I think people need to come to terms with is the minute you go over into a different asset class, you're subject to the volatility of that asset class. So, I mean, in the equity space, I think people are probably familiar with equities. You ever only see the stock ticker, let's say coin or BHP or, Facebook, or you only ever see this ticker. But if you actually look at those tickers in a slightly different way and say, well, what if it's Facebook cross USD or Twitter cross USD or Microsoft cross USD, you bring in that second asset class, which is the US dollar. And if you look at your assets in the terms of which is your base currency, which is your base payoff, then you introduce that second asset class that you're essentially pegged to. And I think what we need to find out, and that's really down to our users, is do they want to have that increased volatility associated with traditional assets? You know, do we want to be in an equity fund, and do you want to see, you know, Facebook cross BTC or Facebook cross ETH? Do you want to see that? Is there demand for that? Because the best thing about finance is it gets cheaper the more you can scale. And if you can't scale, it just costs a lot of money for not a lot of return. Essentially, whatever your slippage detracts from your return. So my job, I think, is to reduce or minimize the amount of slippage that our clients or our users get. And so they're maximizing their returns in as diversified a portfolio as possible.
Yeah. And on a very quick yes or no in terms of assets, last question. Are we planning to integrate Euro stablecoin or Swiss franc stablecoin? That is from Ced Lapierre on YouTube. Euro stablecoin or Swiss franc stablecoin, any plans?
Well, particularly the Euro stablecoin, I wouldn't say it's not conclusive at this point, but something that we have been looking at test portfolios on. So we're, I think we're waiting to see how much volume and liquidity it ultimately drives towards this. But I think it is very, very promising.
Okay. We have a question on auditing from Maxim Makayev on YouTube. Auditing plays an important intermediary role in the development of DeFi projects. What audit methods has YELD App applied in project development? Do we have it to say auditing? Yeah,
absolutely. So, our internal team, we go through a pretty rigorous checklist and then audit things on the technical front. Obviously, just a complete due diligence checklist overall. So, particularly like we try to go to the full lengths, having direct conversations with the teams, video calls, go through kind of thorough interviews. Obviously, the social due diligence, talk to their investors. Really, it's kind of a long length. I actually don't have the checklist in front of me at the moment, but and also we're not going to give away all of our DD that we go through. But I would say it's pretty extensive before that even gets handed off to our dev team that are doing thorough dives and audits on the code as well.
Right. And then, Lucas has already got into the kind of auditing that we're doing on potentially working with external partners. I mean, is there anything you wanted to add to that, Lucas?
I think the most important thing when you're looking at partnering with a manager or an organization is to leave no stone unturned. I think it's the finance industry, no matter which part of it you're in, is built mainly on trust. I mean, there's a huge trust element to finance, and it takes a long time to build that trust. And I think at YELD we've done a pretty good job of that. But it takes a moment to lose it. So for me, the rigor that we put into our investment and operational due diligence is absolutely paramount to making sure that we aren't surprised by the returns of our managers, or we aren't surprised by the processes that are conducted with those organizations. The reports we put on managers are pretty detailed. We go through everything we can think of. When I originally started to do this DD, I worked with one of the biggest organizations in the world that does DD for the big sovereign funds and the big public pension funds. And when they allocate to managers, and ask them a lot of questions around how would you go about, approving or working with managers who are starting up, who are in a nascent industry. And their argument was, it's very much like private markets, right? How do you get into private markets? How do you do your due diligence? How do you really work with an exciting opportunity and at the same time protect yourself and your clients from mishaps? And it's not something, oh, hey, this guy looks really good, his returns are great, let's give him some money. I mean, that just doesn't happen. And I think Tim can attest to that. It's a long process, and it's also a very painful process, because the majority of people, or majority of managers, don't actually pass. So I think you're looking at, single digit pass rates. I mean, just to give you an idea of the scrutiny and level of detail that we go into, it's got to have those processes in place, but actually has to be corroborated by administrators, auditors, accountants, and law firms. Like, we ring up the law firms that they say they work with and say, hey, do you work with these guys? And if they say no, well, guess what? You're not going to get our money. It's simple. We're not going to get your money is the best way to describe it. And I think I put trust as the absolute most important thing around someone giving you their capital to manage or look after. And I take it very, very seriously, because it's a real privilege. And I don't believe that there is any great reason to rush an investment decision. If you've got other options, the idea is to build a huge pool of diversified opportunities that we can pick and choose. We can say, hey, we want to be in this, we want to be in that. We think this is great for our clients. And by the way, there's this whole audit trail we've put in place to show that we've done this work. And I think that's important.
Yeah, the best is the only class good enough, effectively, or something like that. Next question that we have on partnerships. So Eric Correa on YouTube asks, are there any partnerships, negotiations in the works between YELD and other businesses or enterprises such as Steady State that might become official in the next year? Tim?
Absolutely. I mean, there's multiple partnerships. I think always in a discussion in the build out. So, we're quite active on this growth side of the business, and it's kind of vital to kind of really stay out and try to find advantages for the business overall. So, in short, there's no shortage of activity on this side. Of course, we can only release these once they are officially being released, but our team is quite busy on that front.
Yeah, we are having lots of conversations, including Steady State and many other potential partners. I can attest to that. Any plans for ETH2 staking from Huang Vin Tang on YouTube?
Not in the short term. We do have a number of partners, and we've really evaluated this at length. There's a number of reasons why we're not particularly looking to move in this. One of the biggest reasons is obviously just the lockdown on your base asset and the capital too, and how does this fit overall into our business model. So it is possible at some point in the future we will evolve and be able to offer this as well, but not in the short term.
Not right now. Okay, we have Kira Velaminova. I'm terrible at names. This really is my thing. On YouTube, is YELD app afraid to face many competitors when there are many projects related to DeFi? How does YELD app attract users?
Competition.
Users?
Competition is good, right? I mean, overall, I think this is good for the consumers. It's good for the service providers. I mean, it's just drives us to build better product, service clients better, and whatnot. So, I think our vision has always been very straightforward and just make this a very simple way of investing in DeFi. And now we've expanded out that, and I think Lucas has given you a little glimpse into all the exciting things that of our diversification strategies, even coming into the future. And I'm sure at some other time we'd be able to even expand on that as it continues to grow. But investing in DeFi and just investing in crypto is complicated, and so all the original problems still persist. And so just deposit, invest, and you don't need to talk to and go through thorough audits with Lucas and the team to actually find the safest, securest place to have your capital deployed to.
Absolutely. I mean, I can certainly say from the work that we do with our users and the communications we do around kind of social media, we're always monitoring where our message is coming across, the kind of regions that really need the sort of offering that we have, which is a very simple, accessible platform in which to earn, some of the highest yields in the market. So we're always kind of assessing where we can go and who needs us the most. So this is all part of our kind of regional approach. And if anybody does, again, have any ideas, I'm going to put it out there, send them straight to me at Rebecca E. Jones on Twitter, and I will be very, very happy to hear those. So we have a question now from Per Andre Ronsen on YouTube. What steps do you take to make sure Yield App is still around in 10 years? Which is about 1 million years in crypto time, I guess, Tim?
10 years in crypto, I mean, absolutely. I mean, so, been thinking about this a lot lately. It's all about, I would say, sustainability. And so, we bring on professionals like Lucas that, build out the proper risk framework, which, ultimately we understand that, as a business that we need to be secure and conservative and, take things quite slow and do things the proper way. So, Justin and the team are working very hard always on understanding where the regulatory environment is going and how do we stay ahead of this and, fulfill our obligations with global regulators, but, still having a very attractive product offering for clients. So I guess like anything, it's slow and steady is the kind of the recipe.
I think there's a thing that's really important to remember, that if you don't do anything and you stand still, you don't live, right? I mean, evolution is a function of constant change, and you've got to remain relevant in this space. And I think, I've talked with Tim about this at length before I came on board. Is like, okay, what you do now is great, but what are you doing tomorrow? What are you planning to do next? And where are we going? And where does the company see itself? And it's quite heartening to realize that you join a firm that isn't just comfortable with what it's doing today. And the great thing I always say to people in finance is it's so easy to copy your competitors. It doesn't matter what they do, you can copy it in a heartbeat. There's no some manufacturing or some prefab you need to have in place. You can literally copy whatever someone's doing so fast that the only way to remain relevant is to constantly be pushing the boundaries and making sure you're relevant to your clients. And I think that from my experience of being in the firm for nearly 2 months now, is that we all believe that what we did today is not going to be enough to sustain us for tomorrow, and evolution and change is the only way we can be relevant to our clients. So that would be my take on that.
I mean, this is actually a really great question for you, Lucas. I mean, you are somebody that has come across from kind of traditional finance because you see this as being, I assume, a really big growth area for the future. So, I mean, it's a bit of a side note here, but where do you personally see the digital asset space in 10 years' time?
I don't really differentiate digital assets with traditional assets like a lot of people do. And the reason why my whole career in finance has essentially been digital. I've been trading currencies through apps similar to Yield for 10, 15 years. I've been trading on markets all over the world, securitizing products, making them available, really clever stuff. I think the big thing that a lot of people fail to grasp in finance is the traditional players like the big banks, the big regulators, the big custodians, etc. They can throw scale at a problem once it's relevant. I mean, they can throw scale at something that you wouldn't see. I mean, I tell you a story that whenever I see people say, hey, look at this app from this company or this company or this company, I can show you stuff that exists inside some of the biggest investment banks in the world that would blow your mind in how fast and how quick they can trade in currency pairs, in asset classes that people think, oh, I've got to go through this, and it takes forever. And if they decide to say, hey, we're going to do this, and I can say that a lot of them have decided they're going to do this, the biggest hurdle has always been the AML KYC problem. Then the industry is going to get so much more liquidity. It's going to get so much more product. And I think the best thing that finance does is it provides huge opportunities for innovation. And that to me is the most exciting part of the next 10 years is I like going toe to toe with the Cities and the Goldmans and the others of this world. And I've got lots of friends that work there. I've got I've been a client for years on the other side of those companies. And when I talk to them about digital, they go, it's not there yet. And then it's getting there. And then it's okay, we're coming. And when they decide to properly throw some money at the problem, which is kind of the way they define it, it's going to be such an amazing place to be.
Which is coming soon, I feel. There seems to be definitely a change in the water that I can sense anyway. So we have another question here on the market. So Cage117 from YouTube asks Tim, do you still think we're in a bear market for the remainder of the year? Are we even in a bear market? Are we not in a bull market? I don't even know.
Let's see what the coming weeks hold. But no, I think in June, maybe last time we had this, I think that the barometer was really pointing to quite bearish, and I myself, it did feel like this. I think so many global factors and just so much happening in this space. I would say from the intel that I have, I would point that we still have a bullish trend coming. However, we're quite even internally at YELD App, quite conflicting ideas at this point. And I think for us at YELD App, we just plan to be neutral in all markets. So I'm not a trader. I don't trade at all. I know some people probably think this. I don't. And I'm
you trade people, Tim.
In the best way possible.
I just call that upgrading. Or upgrade, yes. So, but overall, that I'm very excited for the what's coming, and I think the future in the industry is so bright, and there's just hurdles that we all need to overcome.
Okay, so maybe not. Nobody really knows is the answer to whether or not we're.
Don't ask me, honestly. Don't ask me.
Who even knows? Okay. Well, I'm not really sure about the full meaning, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So this is another one from Eric Shimpak, but on Facebook this time. When did Tim receive his first cryptocurrency? I'm assuming this is the first one you ever bought. What is the first one you ever bought?
I tried to mess around with a little bit of mining in 2015. That didn't go very well. Felt pretty hard. I think a lot of people, I guess I've always assumed a lot of things, but I'm not a big investor into the space. I'm very passionate about it. I've worked in the space. I'm not a huge investor. Never have been, but just continue to build value. I get a chance to work with YRX, and early on a good crypto company, and was just kind of blessed to be in the right place at the right time. But I'm just very optimistic about the future of the industry overall.
Yeah. So we have Nasty Dog on YouTube asking if we have any plans to allow us to swap YLD to USDC or T, or to withdraw YLD dividends. I think we've probably answered that, but Tim, is there anything we need to add there?
Yeah, we're going to have some very cool things coming in the future. So be able to give options about what do you want to earn in? Do you want to earn in the base asset, or even given an opportunity to earn in all in YLD, your entire APY? And yeah, swaps coming to be able to swap between different assets. I know so many people that maybe have a preference on like even which stable coin that they ultimately want to hold long term. So be able to take care of that all in that.
Okay, and I think that we are just about done for questions coming in live at the moment. We've got some really nice comments. So Eddie F on YouTube says Lucas seems very sharp. Well done on bringing him aboard. So you've already got some fans there, Lucas.
I'll send it. Just send me your key, and I'll send you some coins.
Cage117 says thanks for the answer, Tim. We've got lots of love coming for Sapta across the streams. Sapta is our head of community and much loved by everyone. Shout out to Sapta, who is always there answering everybody's questions. And we do have some questions about when we will publish more specifics on V2 and when people will hear more. We will be keeping everybody fully updated on every development with V2 through our emails, through our community channels, through our social media. So as soon as we know something, you guys will know something. But do know that we have developers working around the clock right now to deliver on these really, really exciting upgrades. I can tell you that. Tim, did you want to add anything on that?
No, just the teams, I mean, really heads down, getting things knocked out. And, we're really exciting for what's coming.
I think one of your friends, Lucas, is on the chat because he says, damn, Lucas is a beast.
Yeah, I've lost some wealth today. I honestly had to pay these guys.
Okay, I think that's probably
Lucas is a beast. I will confirm. Yeah.
We'll wrap it up on that note. Lucas is a beast. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This has been, a little while since our last AMA, which was during the Bitcoin Fund launch. We're going to make sure that we do these more often. We're going to make sure we get Tim in front of the camera answering all of your questions. Please keep them coming in across our social media channels. We are going to respond to everything we possibly can. We're going to keep you fully updated with everything that's going on. And we will see you again live on YouTube and Facebook next month. So that's goodbye from me, Rebecca Jones, Head of Communications, and goodbye from Tim.
Thank you, Rebecca and Lucas. And thank you all for attending today.
And goodbye from Lucas.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, Rebecca. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. Take care, and we will see you next time.